Hello guys, finally, officially Russian war has returned home. And the fact that it is no more fought only on the Ukrainian territory is extremely important, especially for those of us who want peace and security on this planet. If you have some doubts, I will ask you a question and the answer will definitely let you see clearer. Imagine that Putin needs to continue war on the territory of Ukraine for some more years. No problems. They have adapted their economy, they continue their propaganda, they have crazy partners in China, North Korea, and Iran. They are ready. They can survive many more years of shelling and destroying Ukraine. But what if this war continues for years on the side of Russia, with more of their regions under the control of Ukrainian armed forces, with real war happening in Kursk, Belgorod? How many years will Russians accept that? After just 2 days, we see how dissatisfied they are with Putin, how dissatisfied they are with the process of evacuation and the fact that Russian army is actually failing these territories. Of course, Putin won't be able to continue war inside Russia for years, still preserving his power. And this is vital if we want negotiations, peace, and of course, further defeat of the Kremlin. I am super proud of this operation, and it is extremely important for the victory of not just Ukraine, but all the democracy. And most importantly, we clearly see that our allies support special military operation of the Ukrainian armed forces to Kursk region. I am reading a lot these days. There are lots of funny moments, memes, there are lots of stories shared by Russians who never expected this happening. And of course, there is analytics, both internal Ukrainian and external, from NATO countries and other observers. I'm happy to share more because for me as a Ukrainian, it is a decisive moment of this war. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see Russia defeated, subscribe. I'm sure we will discuss that on the channel sometime soon. And right now we have good things to discuss, and that is the continuation of the special military operation of the Ukrainian armed forces in Kursk. For those of you who do not know much, I will remind that starting from the 6th of August, real Ukrainian army, not small groups, but battalions with tanks, armored vehicles, with air defense systems, with drones are moving inside the Russian Federation more than 15 kilometers already, which is huge. I know supporters of Russia often leave comments like, this is just 15 kilometers, guys. To get 15 kilometers of Kharkiv region, it took more than 2 months of the Russian soldiers, and here we have 15 kilometers in 2 days, which definitely demonstrates Russia is all fake. And those of you who are still afraid, it is a strong country, it is a strong army, it is a nuclear power, just let the Ukrainians do the job. Because once again, if we do not bring Russian war back home, Putin will be ready to continue it for decades on our side. Not only he wants to get Ukrainian territories, but he also wants to demonstrate to former Soviet republics, which he has on the list in his image of the Soviet Union reconstructed, how he punishes Ukraine, how he destroys our infrastructure, and so on. What surprised me most of all is that when you look at the Russian population on the territories that are now, beautiful message, under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces, they do not show any resilience. Of course, many of them try to escape the area, and that's logical. Russian government does not provide any help with evacuation, which is very contrary to what happened in the very first days of the Russian invasion. Even with multiplied by 100 attacks, we were able to care for our people, and this is one more proof. In the war between Ukraine and Russia, always support the stronger, and that's Ukraine. Subscribe if you're new and join our friendly community, and please share the videos. It's important to help us provide more updates without fake Russian narratives. So I have received a number of questions when people say you need many of your soldiers on the Ukrainian side, why army of Ukraine is doing that, and so on. Guys, our people are needed on the front lines, but the best way is actually to divert lots of Russian troops and return them back to Russia where they belong. And this works because according to the news from Kharkiv region, for example, near Vovchansk, the number of glide bombs that were dropped on this territory is much, much smaller than it was even yesterday because they lack aviation. Well, first of all, because we destroyed an air base in Morozovsk, Rostov region, but also because they are desperate, because they've lost control over a big part of the Russian border, and Putin does not know how to explain it to his population. He says it's a provocation. What of provocation that is, when in reality we have 2.5 years of real full-scale war between Russia and Ukraine, but he thought he will always fight it on the Ukrainian side, destroying Ukrainian cities, shelling our schools, destroying everything. Why not continue doing that evil, fighting with Ukrainians, but on the Russian side? It's totally okay to bring more of war where they so much wanted it. So that this shooting, destruction, explosions also happens there. Because actually, when Putin realized that his blitzkrieg failed and he will not take all of the Ukraine, one of his plans was to cause as many devastation to my country as possible, to illustrate it to Georgia, to Moldova, to the Baltic countries. If you do not join me when I will invite you, this is what will happen to you. But now we have an answer. If you continue shelling a democratic state in the center of Europe, at a certain moment of time, you will have your problems and you will pray to get the borders of 1991. I'm sure that with this kind of pressure, and if we continue other real special military operations inside Russia, we might reach a moment in the negotiations with the criminals before they are actually sent to The Hague, where Russia will ask for the borders of 1991, and we will agree. Because we don't want any of the modern Russian territories, even though, by the way, Sudzha was a part of Ukraine at the very beginning of the 20th century, and it was actually in this small Russian town of Kursk region where the Bolshevik Ukraine, the communist Ukraine, was proclaimed. Can you imagine that? So many symbolic moments, maybe the collapse of this constant desire of the dying communist empire will also start in Sudzha. Putin began his career with a devastating death of Kursk crew on the submarine, if you remember. Maybe Kursk will also bury Putin and his political future. That would be awesome. And at the same time, we see lots of Russian videos where people cannot believe what is happening. They cannot believe something can be bombed, something can be destroyed, that roads can be blocked. Guys, isn't that what you were cheering for? And it is extremely important that Ukrainian armed forces do not attack civilians. By the way, lots of these Kursk civilians describe their contact with the Ukrainian armed forces when our soldiers check their documents and actually do not do anything bad to them, and Russians start asking Ukrainian army in Russia, what shall we do? What will happen to us? And I love one of these answers when our soldiers tell, well, everything is going to be fine. Just learn the Ukrainian anthem and get ready for the referendum. This Ukrainian sense of humor is amazing. If you want more, join the community, subscribe. But anyway, I think this is also an illustration of a humane, adequate army coming to a zombified territory. And I'm sure for many of Russians it is also an eye-opener. Well, first of all, they've realized that their army is not able to protect them. And second, that the Ukrainian army is really strong. And I've heard already the comments in Kursk region where they say, well, we don't care what flag is it. Actually, whatever happens, the most important thing is that everything is stable, everything is calm, and so on. Compare that to Ukrainians that were stopping Russian tanks with their own bodies. We are two very, very, very different nations, and it's not just about propaganda. It's about something eternal, something historical too. There are lots of prisoners of war, Russian prisoners of war captured in Russia. It's beautiful. They are safe and sound, maybe in better conditions when they were back conscripts of Russia. And there are actually lots of conscripts on this territory, which may lead to huge reaction inside Russia, because that's a little bit different story than those like poor people that Putin is grabbing to send to the front lines in Ukraine. These are like conscripts for more or less normal, well-off families in Russia. And well, there are lots of beautiful messages that are sent to the world, to Russia and to Ukraine with this special military operation of our battalions. I think so much about these people. That's amazing what they are doing. So to sum it all up, why it is so important. Right now, it is likely that we control Sudzha. Sudzha has a gas metering station that is important from the transit of gas, but I'm sure it's safer with Ukrainian troops than with the Russian maintenance. I don't think that we want to get Kursk nuclear power plant, but we'll see. I think that the plan is to get the more territories we can, dig in, and then create this buffering zone, because one of the most important tasks is actually to protect Sumy region and other parts of Ukraine from constant Russian attacks. And this is legitimate. And I love that governments of France, of Germany, White House, they all understand what we are doing. And during these years of war, we have demonstrated that we are a trustworthy partner. Putin thought he will continue smashing, destroying Ukraine and fighting this war that is so much needed for him only on the Ukrainian side. And Russians will learn about this war from his propaganda channels and think whatever he wants. Now it changed, and it changed dramatically. Russians in many regions see that his government is ineffective. They cannot protect Russian borders, and the Ukrainian armed forces are stronger than described by Russian propagandists. And I love these jokes. By the way, subscribe to my X and Threads. I share a lot of memes there where they say, Russians, surrender and we will return YouTube to your country, because it seems like YouTube is off in Russia. Surrender and you will get better postal services. Surrender and in a couple of years you will join the EU and NATO together with Ukraine. So anyway, this is a very, very, very important moment in this war. Please share this information. I love that at the very start of these updates, Russian trolls tried to persuade, no, it's not happening, no, it's not happening. But now, like Putin, with a very, we say it's sour face, I don't know if there is a similar phrase in English, speaks about that. And he says, well, soon this operation will end with our victory. Guys, this is not your operation. Everything is indeed under control, but under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces. And that's great. More to come. Russia will be liberated, but after Ukraine. So remember to subscribe to the channel and help me spread more information. Share on your social media platforms. Join me on X, Threads, Discord, and Instagram, of course. All the links that you need are in the description of this video. Check our merch shop for more items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming patrons and sponsors of the channel, and helping me film and write more. And thank you so much for being with Ukraine in this extremely decisive time. Slava Ukraini!